I'm Chris. I'm a visual anthropologist here at CUT, and I'm the series editor for 100 Years of Beauty. We definitely have wanted to do a lot more series with men. We've explored hegemonic male beauty in the first video, but the entire time that 100 Years was happening, there was a complete other, but parallel, beauty tradition for Black men. So we found Lester. Not only is he incredibly handsome, but he's also just a sweet, nice guy who's an incredible musician. He's a father. I think we all learned a lot about how precise and scientific it can actually be to execute some of these hairstyles. In the 1910s, the image we chose is a portrait of a young couple in 1912. We got this image from Duke University's archives. In the early 20th century, actually, most people wouldn't be caught dead leaving the house without a hat on, right? So this is part of being in civil society, is having a hat in public. Okay, so in the 1920s, we modeled Lester after William J. Powell Jr. William Powell is a pioneer in aviation, but not just that, he was also a civil rights activist who was really outspoken about Jim Crow segregation in the South. In the 1930s, we modeled this look after Donald Sheffield Ferguson. He's got like this very strong parts. Donald Sheffield Ferguson is actually the first Black medical student at Kansas University. Okay, and he fought tooth and nail to even get in the program and to stay. It was really difficult for him. To see in the 30s, even before what we think of as civil rights movement and the desegregation of public schools, we have Black folks who are actually working really hard to achieve advanced medical degrees. In Black History Month especially, it's important to recognize just how many Black men served in World War II. In particular, the Tuskegee Airmen, pretty elite group of fighter pilots that served since World War I and onward. We wanted to recognize that here with this look. Of course, Black music is part of the fabric of American culture. We model him after Little Richard, who has the conch hairstyle. The conch is kind of, it's like a chemically processed, so we didn't actually formally do that to Lester, but we tried to reproduce it here in the studio. In the autobiography of Malcolm X, there's actually a chapter dedicated to when he gets his first conch. He writes about how much he wanted to be white and to have white hair, adopt a white sort of physiology. And yet the pain was so unbearable during the process that it kind of inaugurated for him a kind of racial consciousness about a colonial mentality, about wanting to be white, about being a Black body in a white world. One thing we wanted to be really clear about in this video is that hair and politics are always intertwined. So in the 60s, our inspiration was a very iconic image of Huey Newton, who's one of the founders of the Black Panther Party. The black beret is part of a global revolutionary tradition. It's a global signifier of revolutionary call to action. It's pretty amazing what we see in just half a century, right? That, Black men are disciplined into not having any hair at all. In fact, even covering it or chemically processing it. To pick out your afro and wear it so proudly completely resists those sorts of forms of discipline that have been on Black bodies. The 80s look that we chose is of Jean-Michel Basquiat. He's an artist that is from New York. He was actually a Black nationalist too, right? So he actually, in poetics had a lot to say about anti-colonization and about the liberation of Black people. One thing this video can do is show a kind of history of the present. And when we see The Weeknd performing with his crazy hair, we see in his look in the present a little bit of Basquiat's essence. For the 90s, we included a flat top. You might remember the flat top on Will Smith in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is actually an interesting symbol, right? Because we have, in the case of Will Smith's character, this person trying to mediate middle-class existence, right? Coming from the inner city. We cannot look at Fresh Prince of Bel-Air without thinking in the background about Rodney King and the LAPD incidents, and about race riots, about urban blight, about kinds of violence that are happening to Black bodies in US cities. For the 2000s, we actually used Lester's own pictures for the reference. He had these really big, beautiful braids tied back. And the facial hair actually is pretty typical of that time, I would say, especially if you look at R&B celebrities or rappers. In the 2010s look, we have this sort of throwback reference to the flat top, right? But it's really in the fade and the verticality. Yet we also see plenty of white boys walking around with this kind of thing, with the fade. Macklemore maybe famously has this haircut too. So I just think it's interesting. In a century, we have white men going to black-owned barbershops to get their hair done because it's part of a longer Southern tradition. One thing I think 100 Years of Beauty has always tried to do is show how the past continues to inform the present. And there are things in history that we can't exactly express with words, but we can show with images.